Hi, my name is Derek Mejia. I'm currently attending Pasadena City College. So I wanted to make this video to answer the questions that were asked for the scholarship. And so that was why I read and what my favorite book is. And so I wanted to start off by saying that up until high school, I don't think I had ever read a book, at least not all the way completely. And that was partly because I was never encouraged to read books when growing up. And so I never got to go to the library and browse the shelves and pick out a book and check it out with my library card. That just wasn't something that was available to me. And so I wanted to address the question why read by talking about how much of a tragedy it is when you don't read. And so first I wanted to acknowledge that when you don't read, you lose a window to the world. And what I mean by that is when you read, you're transported to the places you're reading about. I mean, whether it's New York City in the 70s or Paris in the 20s or rural Oklahoma in the 30s or even made up places like Middle Earth, books allow you to be in those places and you become familiar with them. And that's amazing because you don't really get to do that. And secondly, I think books make us feel less lonely. And I think books do that by giving us insight into the mind of the writer, but also their characters. And through that, you get to learn a lot about self-doubt and fear and trauma. And books help us deal with those issues without having to confront them directly. I mean, books, they also teach us a lot about the human condition. And they teach us about morality and right from wrong. And I think the first book for me that really taught me that was Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. And I wanted to read a specific section from the book. So just to, if you haven't read it, there's a scene where the main character, Billy Pilgrim, is watching a movie late night. And he ends up watching the movie backwards. And it's a war movie. And a lot of the novel deals with the morality of war and what it means to have participated in conflict, and it deals with death and violence. And so I wanted to read that section from the book to just highlight some of the stuff I've already talked about. So I'm just going to read it. He came slightly unstuck in time, saw the late movie backwards, then forwards. Again, it was a movie about American bombers in the Second World War and the gallant men who flew them. Seen backwards by Billy, the story went like this. American planes full of holes and wounded men and corpses took off backwards from an airfield in England over France. A few German fighter planes flew at them backwards, sucked bullets and shell fragments from some of the planes and crewmen. They did the same for wrecked American bombers on the ground, and those planes flew up backwards to join the formation. The formation flew backwards over a German city that was in flames. The bombers opened their bomb bay doors, exerted a miraculous magnetism which shrunk the fires, gathered them into cylindrical steel containers, and lifted the containers into the bellies of the planes. The containers were stored neatly in the racks. The Germans below had miraculous devices of their own, which were long steel tubes. They used them to suck more fragments from the crewmen and planes. But there were still a few wounded Americans though. And some of the bombers were in bad repair. Over France though, German fighters came up again, made everything and everybody as good as new. When the bombers got back to their base, the steel cylinders were taken from the racks and shipped back to the United States of America, where factories operating night and day, dismantling the cylinders, separating the dangerous contents into minerals. Touchingly, it was mainly women who did this work. The minerals were then shipped to specialists in remote areas. It was their business to put them into the ground, to hide them cleverly so they would never hurt anybody again. The American flyers turned in their uniforms, became high school kids, and Hitler turned into a baby, Billy Pilgrim supposed. That wasn't in the movie. Billy was extrapolating. Everybody turned into a baby, and all humanity without exception conspired biologically to produce two perfect people named Adam and Eve, he supposed. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll consider me for the scholarship, and I can't wait to hear back.